You know that feeling when just like one unexpected thing happens and it completely opens up your world?
Hmm.
Imagine that, but back in high school. Not something you read, but someone actually showing up from a totally different culture.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this because this deep dive is really all about those kinds of moments, those pivotal experiences. We're looking at your experiences with cultural exchange in Latin America.
Yeah, drawing from the materials you shared, things like hosting students from Argentina, your own trips, Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador. It's quite a journey.
It really is. And what's fascinating, I think, is how these individual stories, these personal interactions, they really shine a light on the impact of stepping outside your comfort zone, culturally speaking.
Absolutely. We've got the CADI program, AFS, the American Field Service, and then your own travels. Each gives us a slightly different angle on just how transformative this kind of exchange can be.
Exactly. So our goal here isn't just like a trip down memory lane.
Hmm.
We really want to pull out the key insights, the moments of real growth, shifts in perspective, and uh, those connections that actually lasted.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's start with Katie, that Argentine program. Students came here for about a month, right? January, February time?
That's the one. And reading through the background, it seems like maybe these early programs weren't super widely known back then.
Yeah, perhaps.
It suggests your family getting involved and others, like the Hansons, was maybe a pretty conscious choice to, engage with the world more directly.
It definitely sounds like a unique experience. Your sister Jane hosted Marisa Pena, and Tyra Hansen sponsored Graciela Diorio. What were those first impressions like? The Argentine students, their culture, what really stood out?
Well, the sources point to a really strong sense of family and friends being central. That comes through loud and clear.
Okay.
And also this palpable sense of a rich culture, a real zest for life. You mentioned the tango example.
Oh, yeah, the fire of communion. That phrase really paints a picture, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests a certain passion and expressiveness.
Sure.
What did that signal to you about connecting with them, maybe on an emotional level?
It felt like maybe emotions were a bit more on the surface, a real warmth, definitely. And it wasn't just watching from afar, you were right in there.
Right.
Parties, Credence, Clearwater Revival playing.
Uh-huh.
But surprisingly, no alcohol involved, just this genuine spirit of friendship. And you were younger than some of them, but that didn't seem to matter.
Yeah, that's interesting. What do you think allowed for that acceptance across the age gap?
Maybe it points to a social dynamic where, the shared experience and just connecting genuinely was more important than how old everyone was.
Yeah, like valuing inclusivity, finding common ground. And it
Yeah.
wasn't just hanging out, right? The materials mentioned conversations about different
Yeah.
cultures. That probably helped bridge any gap, too.
Makes sense. And the impact wasn't just for that month. You talk about a lasting appreciation for diversity.
Hmm.
And it's really nice to hear about Tyra's son later marrying someone from Thailand. It feels like those early experiences can plant seeds.
Absolutely. It shows the kind of unforeseen ripple effects. It's
Yeah.
not just the immediate experience. It broadens horizons, fosters this inclusive view that can carry on through generations.
It really makes you think maybe the world would be better with more of those kinds of friendships.
It's a nice thought, isn't it?
Then there's Graciela's side of it. You saw her as wise, even at 14, mature, with this joy for life.
Yeah, like a flower in spring. That's how you put it. And the friendship deepened through writing letters, sharing dreams about surfing, life.
That act of writing letters back and forth across that distance, what does that tell us about their connection? It's so different from how we communicate now.
Well, it suggests a real deliberateness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Taking the time, reflecting. It implies a commitment to really understanding each other beyond just surface stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that the connection lasted, that they shared interests like meditation later on, it just underscores how strong that early bond was. And your visit to Argentina, experiencing their hospitality, probably cemented that too.
Right. Okay, let's shift gears a little. The AFS program, American Field Service, this was more global, and your family hosted Eduardo Pena from Argentina for a whole year.
Yeah, full year. That's a totally different level of immersion compared to a month.
Huge difference.
Hosting someone that long, you're sharing daily life, the ups and downs. They really become part of the family fabric. And AFS also organized get-togethers, right? With students from other schools.
Yeah, that's right.
So you were learning about other cultures locally, too, not just Argentina. Like the Dahl family hosting Tord Olsen from Norway. It built this wider community awareness.
And it led to these unexpected links later on, too. I mentioned staying with an AFS student from your own high school, but in Venice, Italy, during a surfing trip. How did that happen?
It just shows how these programs create a kind of network, doesn't it? A community of people who share that curiosity about the world.
Yeah,
So that AFS connection just provided a natural link, a friendly face, in a new place while you were traveling.
that makes sense. And Eduardo Pena, he really became like family. You mentioned his great sense of humor, upbeat personality. Considered a brother.
Yeah, the source material really emphasizes his personality.
Hmm.
Humor, positivity, those are often key to forming really strong bonds, aren't
For
they?
sure.
When someone fits into the daily rhythm and the sort of emotional life of a family like that, calling him a brother feels totally natural. It reflects something real.
And that bond led to more travel, more connections. You visited his family in South America,
Argentina, Ecuador, yeah,
and your mom stayed with them later,
Huh.
and they came to visit you in Miami Beach.
right. These reciprocal visits, they really show the strength of that connection. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It was this ongoing exchange, deepening those family ties across continents.
Which makes the later news about Eduardo's passing just so much more poignant.
Mm.
Trying to reconnect after 10 years, that confusion, first thinking it was his father, and then finding out he'd passed away 20 years before that attempt to reconnect. That's rough.
It really underscores how precious those connections are. And, the tough reality that time and distance can sometimes lead to losing touch and then loss. That initial hope, then the confirmation.
Hmm.
It's a sharp reminder to cherish relationships.
Definitely. But his legacy, his impact, clearly lived on, remembering his kindness, the adventures.
Exactly. Even though he was gone, the positive influence he had, the memories you all made together, those endure. It shows that the impact of these people in our lives goes way beyond the time we actually spend with them.
Okay, so moving away from the formal programs for a moment,
Mhm.
you also had your own big South American adventure. That summer after junior year, Brazil, Argentina, Ecuador. Sounds amazing.
A real whirlwind, it seems like.
Yeah.
Let's start with Brazil. You connected with someone in Rio, a Chinese-Brazilian college roommate of a surfing friend.
Yeah, Steve Lamontange's roommate. That's already such an interesting cultural mix right there. What was walking into that household like?
Well, it sounds like it instantly threw you into this unique blend, living in a Chinese household, but in Brazil.
Hmm.
Starting the day with breakfast soup. It's such a vivid example of how personal connections open doors to experiences you just never find in a travel guide.
Totally. And you saw the big sites too, like Christ the Redeemer, those amazing views over Copacabana and Ipanema.
Right, but you also saw the other side, the poverty in the shanty towns.
Yeah. Seeing that contrast, the beauty and the hardship right next to each other. What effect did that have?
Witnessing stark contrasts like that, it often pushes you towards a more complex understanding of a place, doesn't it? Beyond the postcard images. You see the socioeconomic reality shaping people's lives. It probably makes you think about privilege, inequality.
For sure. Then there was that unexpected detour to Cabo Frio, meeting a Portuguese family off-season, experiencing Brazilian winter.
Huh? Yeah. Low 60s, it sounds like one of those lovely spontaneous travel moments, chance encounters leading to warm, personal connections, even when it's not peak tourist season.
Okay, on to Argentina. This was a chance to reconnect with Pedro, who had stayed with you before.
Right. And it sounds like food was a major highlight here. Café con leche, croissants, street cart steak sandwiches.
And that Argentine BBQ, the asado out on a ranch in the Pampas, trying some unusual cuts of meat.
Food is just so central to culture, isn't it? And the asado, it's a whole social event, not just a meal. Being willing to try different things, even if they're unfamiliar, that shows an openness, a way of embracing local traditions. It's like tasting the culture.
And then that totally surreal moment. You ended up translating a tour in Spanish on the fly and saw Bobby Fischer playing chess.
That's just one of those wild travel stories you can't make up. It really speaks to how being open puts you in the path of these bizarre, unforgettable moments.
The description of the driving culture in Argentina is pretty unforgettable too. Fast, reckless, ignoring signals, bribery.
Yet 90 miles from the city. What do you make of that? Sometimes that kind of thing reflects different cultural attitudes towards rules, maybe. Individual initiative versus strict adherence.
Could be. It's definitely a reminder that normal varies wildly.
And the nightlife. Starting at midnight. 16-year-olds drinking whiskey in clubs. How did that compare to what you were used to?
Very different, but it sounds like it stems from maybe a different rhythm of life. Warmer climates, different work schedules. Socializing later is common in lots of Latin cultures.
Right. And despite some of the maybe chaotic seeming aspects like the driving, the core importance of family and friends still seemed really central, a balance with work.
Even the bus travel sounds impressive, first class from Buenos Aires to Mar del Plata.
Yeah, the quality of transport can tell you something about a society's priorities. And then Mar del Plata, staying with Graciela again. A seaside resort, grand casino. I'm thinking about surfing there.
Apparently it was a new sport there, but too cold to try.
Shows how passions like surfing travel, though, even if the conditions aren't always ideal.
Okay, finally, Ecuador. Reuniting with Eduardo and his family. More amazing food, right? Batidos, fried plantains.
Oh yeah, those exotic fruit smoothies the housekeeper made sound incredible.
Yeah.
And the surfing trips to Playas, near Guayaquil, with Victorio Pescado, a Spanish bullfighter turned surfer.
What a character. That's another one of those amazing encounters you only have when you travel. People with such varied lives and passions crossing paths.
Totally. And then you went inland, too, Quito, Cuenca, staying at Eduardo's grandmother's place in the Andes.
Yeah, described as cold, 58 degrees year-round.
Yeah.
And noticing recent American migration there.
Interesting observation.
Yeah.
But the really big thing in Ecuador was hearing about the Galapagos tours, right? Run by the Ecuadorian Navy.
Yes, and getting permission to miss 3 weeks of school for it. That principle,
Oof.
pretty wise.
Definitely. Recognizing that learning happens outside the classroom, too. That firsthand experience in a place like the Galapagos is education you just can't get from books.
So, the Galapagos itself. Aboard an old WW2-era U.S. Navy ship. Tensions with tuna boats. And then visiting all those islands. Santiago, San Cristobal, Isabela.
Witnessing Darwin's theory right there. What was the most striking part of actually being there?
It must have been incredibly powerful. Being in the place that literally changed our understanding of life on Earth. Seeing the giant tortoises, the marine iguanas, the seals. It makes evolution feel tangible, visceral.
Yeah, way beyond a textbook explanation. Those unique wildlife encounters, the pristine environment, even seeing a perfect unwritten wave.
Yes. And learning from fellow travelers, too. An American couple, an Argentine poet. It sounds like it all came together into this incredibly formative experience.
It really highlights how travel broadened you in so many ways, doesn't it? The places, the people, the new perspectives you gain. And the Galapagos, being so unique, was just an exceptionally rich place for all that to happen.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, looking back at all these stories, what are the main things that stand out? The core takeaways?
Well, the huge impact of those exchange programs, Katie and AFS, is undeniable. They forged these really deep, lasting connections across cultures.
Right.
Your experiences also just shout about the beauty of that cross-cultural understanding, how embracing different ways of living enriches your own life. And then there's just the sheer adventure of it all.
Yeah, the unexpected moments.
Exactly, those serendipitous encounters, the things you couldn't plan.
Yeah.
They clearly shaped who you became. But ultimately, I think it's the memories of the people and the places that seem to have left the deepest mark.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought for you listening, thinking about all this. Consider how opening yourself up, even in small ways, to different cultures,
Yeah.
how that can ripple through your life.
Mm-hmm.
What unexpected connections might be out there waiting? What adventures could unfold if you just take that step outside your familiar world? Definitely something to think about.